Making a 115-pound blacksmith anvil. Now the first step is obviously to lay everything out. I'm using a permanent marker followed by a scribe. This leaves pretty good lines to follow and makes easy setup. Now I'm using this horizontal bandsaw, or vertical bandsaw, sorry, and I really like this thing. It makes really fast work of all these cuts. Followed by that, everything was faced on a milling machine to get everything nice and perfectly square and the same dimensions as all the other pieces. So followed by all the rough cutting, the horns had to be shaped. So the horns were cut on the diagonal, and there were two horns, so two horns were cut on the diagonal like this. Now the round horn this is the round horn being cut right now. Now the square horn was also cut this way, but prior to that it had a inch by half-inch groove milled on each side, so that when it would fold over it would have a 1-inch hardy hole. So these are the feet being cut. This is going to be shaped like an Austrian stepped foot anvil. I like the shape, and it's also an easy shape to fabricate. It's a little more time consuming than other shapes, but for the look to time ratio I decided to go with these feet. I also think they look particularly nice. So these are all the pieces prior to being ground and fitted prior to welding. So you can see it's made up of many components, but the main components, there are 6 for the body and 2 pieces each for the horns. And then there are several pieces which make up the feet. There are handling holes milled in there, as well as a hardy hole in the main block. Now everything prior to welding was ground, and there were heavy chamfers, and they're probably close to 3/4 of an inch. And that was for every piece that was to be stacked, except for the feet. The feet did not have such heavy chamfers. I'm just using a 5-inch Makita angle grinder with that. So this is what the anvil looked like post welding. That's while it was being welded. I welded a 1/2-inch plate of 4140 to the top, and in between there was a 3/8 spacer between the main body and the face. So after that everything had to be ground. All the welds were ground down, as well as the horn being ground round from square, and that was quite a lot of work. But you can see here, even being unheat treated, there's a pretty good rebound. So this is what the anvil looked like prior to being heat treated, with the horn being ground. You can see it's nice. To heat treat the anvil I used my coke forge, and I actually hooked it up with an electric blower so I wouldn't have to deal with the hand blower. Now we heat treated the anvil using a stream of water, or that is a waterfall. The reason for that is if we just dumped it into a bucket of water, what would happen is it would form a steam jacket, and the steam jacket would cause a ton of bubbles to form around the anvil, and it would not cause it to cool as quickly as we needed to cool it. Putting in a pond or a stream or a pool would cause a steam jacket, and the anvil probably wouldn't harden as well as if we were to pour water on it as we did. Now we had to use a lot of buckets for this, or a lot of barrels. I really didn't anticipate having to use so many, and it ended up being just enough to heat treat the anvil. So once we used all of our buckets, we put it into a wheelbarrow and flipped it upside down in water to stop the residual heat from coming up to the anvil and tempering the face. So this is the file test. The hardening went pretty well. It didn't get as hard on the horn because the temperature was not up there. I actually lost my camera and had to run to the house. By the time I came back, we lost a little bit of heat. But this is the anvil post heat treat, and this is what it's like after I cleaned it up a little bit. Painted it. It's just black paint, and of course on the stand. I made a steel stand for it. There's a 1 5/8 plate it sits on, and of course it has 3 legs. So this is the bounce test after hardening. It's not bad. Now this is my shop anvil and I use it every day. The only complaint I have about it is the 3-inch face is pretty narrow, especially after I chamfer it. It becomes something like 2 3/4 of an inch. Something like 3.5 inches or 4 inches would have turned out much better. But I like this anvil a lot. It works pretty well. I don't have any complaints. So hopefully I inspired some of you guys to make your own anvil. It's not too difficult. It just takes, time and patience, as most things, and a little bit of money, which never hurts. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then I have a full 3-part series of this, which goes into a little bit more detail. And of course, comment, share, like,